Mic test 1, 2, 3. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the very first HASHWAR weekly finale we are going to live broadcast tonight. I'm your host, HASH0, inventor of the adversarial Conway, a class of algorithm that lets you pit two individual Game of Life pieces against each other on a shared space. We have seen in this week already a series of tournaments where we have battled 32 individual glyphs, that's why we call our game pieces, against each other in round-robin style tournaments on Monday through Thursday to determine the respective group winners. Last night we saw the redemption day, which means the final 16 patterns competed for the final 4 spots in the weekly finale, the Great Championship, that we're broadcasting live tonight. Without further ado, let's jump right in. I have my weekly workbench here, and I will initiate the final contest right now. So here we go. We have 16 contestants, 16 individual Game of Life patterns that are going to compete in a knockout style bracket tournament to determine the ultimate weekly winner. Let's have a quick look back at the final draw. We are going to see quite an interesting matchup. Apotheosis is the current reigning champion, won the tournament last week, We're also going to see Cherenkov radiation. It's a 2-time bronze medalist. Over the past couple of weeks, UV has the inner product, physics joke, apparently. This has already seen a bronze medal too. And on the right-hand side, we are seeing the Pandora silver medalist of the past. We are seeing Electric Company Blues, the second highest ranked glyph right now. If we look at our perpetual Hall of Fame, there it is, Electric Company Blue, pattern that has won all 3 actually, the only pattern to win the Triple Crown so far. Electric Company Blues. We are going to see the Pandora, as I said, silver medalist already, and 2 new joiners, Bobinin 1 and Dormant Warmind, who have utterly dominated in their respective group phase. Dormant Warmind, Group A, highest score actually of the entire tournament so far. Bobinin 1, I think 3rd highest score we've seen. Apotheosis, reigning champion so far. So this is going to be interesting. Plus, we are going to see a lot of the untested Dormant Warmind and Bobinin 1. Among them, Lemon here is a new entry to our contest. So we're going to see how they are going to fare. Without further ado, let's start the tournament and we engage our match. So as you can see here, this is an auto battler. We are absolutely not going to have any way of influencing the outcome here, but we can freely roam around. It's a 3D application that runs in your web browser. You can actually do that yourself if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So what we're seeing here in Auto Battler, these are 2 individual Game of Life pieces. Conway's Game of Life, some cellular automata, a mathematical construct from the 1970s. If you're watching this and asking yourself, is this something I might be interested in? If you like computational puzzles and optimization problems, you might have come to the right place. What we are seeing here is the first 2 patterns here, Apotheosis versus Fibonacci 328, fighting against each other. There seems to be a glitch. What's going on here? Why has my PC frozen? Okay, that was a glitch, apparently. I'm sorry for that. Something has frozen my computer. All right, so we're going to see these 2 patterns duking it out among themselves. Conway's Game of Life, of course, is a well-known structure. It's a mathematical construct by Horton Conway, British mathematician, invented in the 1970s. And he basically wanted to prove that you can see complex behavior emerge from simple rules. That's what these squares are here on the left and the right side. And what we did is we basically looked at this and said, you know what, this would make interesting game pieces if you could somehow make them compete with one another. And so I set out, because I looked for similar structures done already, I looked for something that would let me compete with these game pieces, and I couldn't find anything that I found satisfactory. I think there's an obscure reference somewhere in a science fiction novel out there. In the far future, people are apparently battling with these patterns, and they use them as game pieces, and I thought, well, this hasn't been done before. There is no realization of that, just a general idea to do it. And I set out to do it myself, and what became of this is the so-called adversarial Conway. It's a class of algorithms that I wrote that lets me actually pit these against each other. And the idea behind this is, as you can see, these patterns, they roam around on the torus, and what they're going to do is they are going to imprint their current state onto the shared space. That's what they're doing. And think of it like these cells here on the torus, they have an intrinsic charge, and whenever that pattern, for example apotheosis, the green one, when that roams around, it imprints or projects its current state onto this shared space, charging up those cells. And the idea is that both competing patterns use opposing charges, so naturally when they meet in the middle, you can calculate a net charge and who is actually owning this particular cell we're currently looking at. This is in a nutshell what we're doing. If they meet and one of the patterns flips a cell that has previously been owned by the other pattern, then these are the light effects you're seeing. Again, this is a 3D application. I can freely roam around here, but it's a deterministic auto battler, so I cannot influence the outcome whatsoever. I can just have a look look around 3D scenery, but I have to let the patterns compete and duke it out according to the algorithm that we wrote. Okay, there's hi Bobino, just said hi in the chat. He is one of our most ardent fans, and he has a vested interest because I think he fielded 4 patterns this week, and some of the more prominent ones, I have to say, including Apotheosis, which is the current reigning champion, won the weekly series last week. So let's see how they're going to be. Let's see how they fare in this week's tournament. Right now we're seeing Lemon. It's an untested and a new glyph. We haven't seen this perform at all, so let's see how that goes. It's making pretty decent scores actually, but Archimedes 107 is dominating so far. Okay, that is round 3 or 4. Previous 2 rounds have been won by Archimedes 107. Well, let's see what's happening. There is some random events in the algorithm. Currently we only have 1 random event that we're featuring. That's the so-called containment failure. Basically means that the pattern is fizzling out before its intended terminal state. All these patterns that you're seeing here in our weekly series contests, they have terminal states between 500 and 599 steps. So we're only looking at patterns who can live for 500 to 599 steps, which is actually the game mechanic, which is the optimization part we talked about. If you're interested in optimization puzzles, in computational puzzles, you have to find game of life patterns that live on the 16 by 16 torus that have between 500 and 599 unique generations. We do not allow repeat patterns. We do not allow, for example, gliders that keep on roaming on the torus forever. We cut short the evolution of a game of life pattern once it reaches a configuration it has previously held. This is what makes these patterns what we call Conway glyphs. Anyway, so okay, Lemon got completely handed and lost it. So, Cherenkov Radiation, that is, if memory serves, a 2-time bronze medalist versus Muon Catalyst. So, Cherenkov Radiation clearly the favorite and the champion in this matchup. Let's see how that goes. And all these matches you're going to see here, these are knockout style. This is a knockout style tournament. It's the grand weekly finale. The entire week has been filled with tournaments, round robin style tournaments and knockout tournaments to determine the 16 weekly finalists, and we're going to see the finale play out right now. So this is a knockout tournament, 4 rounds each to each match we're going to see, and only the one who has the highest score is going to advance. That's pretty close. Muon Catalyst actually managed to have the advantage here over Cherenkov Radiation, which is the clear favorite. It's the clear champion, 2-time bronze winner, and member of the Hall of Fame so far. So let's see how that plays out. It's interesting to see this. And it's beginning to look like Muon Catalyst is... Oh no, there did. But it could just pull ahead. Yes, it did. It did pull ahead again. It looks like Muon Catalyst might actually win against Cherenkov Radiation. 2 more rounds to go. It's a clear advantage, but not decisive whatsoever. A lot can happen here. What you're seeing play out here is seeded randomness, which is why you see at the top left side of the title, there's a seed. It's a numerical seed that we give into the algorithm to determine the roaming path these patterns, these glyphs, are taking on the torus. So the action is completely deterministic if you seed the randomness algorithm appropriately. Yeah, that's really close, I agree. Bobinu is chatting me up here. Okay, after 3 rounds, now Cherenkov Radiation is back to form. Actually managed to pull ahead and build a substantial advantage over Muon Catalyst. Oh my, they're really duking it out here. This is a fierce competition. Oh my. Yeah, looks like Cherenkov Radiation is pulling ahead, cementing its victory. Interesting. It looked like, yeah, that's clear and decisive victory, Cherenkov Radiation. Maybe that's the third bronze medal is going to win tonight. I don't know. Okay, next up we have Euler 461. Another one of the, I think, newer patterns that we have here versus UV, the inner product. Fleur-de-Lis has hashed a pattern here that is named it after a physics concept or a mathematics concept, I think. Hilbert spaces, if memory serves. Inner product spaces are Hilbert spaces. Anyone in the chat? Yeah, I think Hilbert spaces. All right. UV is a surprisingly underdog pattern. Managed to get into the Hall of Fame, but never really showed up in the finale, in the final matches. So, a bit of an underdog. Let's see how that goes. You only know UV mapping? All right, that's fair enough. Isn't that an optimization problem? I don't know. Uni. Back in those days. That's almost 20. This is more than 20 years for me now that I started uni. So a lot of these concepts are no longer present in mind. Right, second round. Yeah, Euler 461 is actually ahead. 240 points. That's something. It's respectable. Now, the interesting thing when you look at the gen stat, gen is short for generation. That's the number of steps each glyph, each pattern lives before it reaches a terminal state. As you can see, they have differing generational count. UV has 533 before it reaches a halting state. Euler 461 has 580. That is not necessarily indicative if a pattern is more successful than another, we found out. So the pure generational count by itself will not tell you if a pattern is more successful than another. There is some bias to it, we know this. You will always see, if you pit a pattern, say, that lives 500 generations against a pattern that lives 800 or 1000 steps, you will always, or almost always, see the longer lived pattern completely dominate this contest. This is just like how the algorithm shakes out. But within a weight class, and this is why we did this, within a weight class, if you restrict your tournament to patterns that live between 500 and 599 steps, you cannot easily tell that from a higher generational count this pattern is going to win. What we did find out over the last couple of weeks is apparently the average density of live cells of a pattern. That is a much more interesting proxy metric that will tell you, Mel, this pattern is probably going to win. Okay, yeah, that's it. The inner product is out of the tournament. Interesting. Next up, this is an interesting match. The Pando Heart is a silver medalist of the past, and Bobinu won one of the new untested glyphs. Bobinu has actually hashed this particular pattern specifically to test the theory, is it the average density? You can actually see that, the live cell profile here. So the average of these live cells, the higher this average, the more successful these patterns tend to be. There is no mathematical proof that this is the case. That is still outstanding. But from what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, yeah, that seems to be true. So Bobinu 1 is a pattern that was specifically bred not so much for a high generational count, although this is a pretty high count, 595. But then again, the Pando Heart 2 is a very long-lived pattern in this particular weight class. But Bobinu 1 was bred specifically to have a high average live cell profile. It seems to be a pretty successful pattern from what we can tell. Right, yeah, already ahead. More than 400 points. That is an advantage over 25%. That's really good. I think this is going to make its mark. If it holds up this performance, Bobinu 1 is going to earn at least 8,000 points from this match. But then again, it's very close. Pando Heart. Yeah, okay. Barely defeated Pando Heart. Yeah, let's see how it stacks up against the champs. Thanks, Bobinu. Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting, and sadly for you, I have to say, Apotheosis is also part of this tournament, so the reigning champion. This, I don't know, it's strategically probably unwise to field too many high-performing glyphs in the same weekly tournament. But then again, we currently do not have a game mechanic that allows players to actually influence is my pattern going to be drawn or not. It's completely random. It's not completely random. We're not using a local randomness generator. We're actually using something more sophisticated to draw the weekly contestants. Yes, that's true. So it's not very clever to have too many good champion glyphs for each week. So we should have a mechanic that allows you to switch off or withdraw your patterns from being drawn publicly. Anyway, I was saying we're not using a local randomness generator to generate the weekly draw of glyphs. We're actually using something a bit more sophisticated. We do it in a weekly draw and fetch the latest NIST randomness beacon pulse. So what is that? NIST is the National Institute for Standards and Technology in Maryland, the United States. And they issue, I think every 60 seconds, a quantum process-based randomness pulse that cannot be predicted whatsoever. You can be a Nobel Prize winning physicist, doesn't matter. You can be a NIST employee, it doesn't matter. You cannot predict what is going to happen here. And we fetch this NIST randomness beacon pulse to seed our drawing mechanic. So that's what we do because we want to ensure fairness. And by the way, that we're talking about fairness, all the code, the adversarial Conway algorithm and all that is up at GitHub for anyone to inspect. Anyway, next match up after we have seen the Panda Heart being defeated. Yeah, that's what we see. Next matchup is Dormant Warmind versus Electric Company Blues. Electric Company Blues is the second highest ranked glyph today on our leaderboard. It's the only Triple Crown winner. It has gold, silver, and a bronze medal to its name, and it's pitted against Dormant Warmind. Dormant Warmind is another one of these killer patterns that Bobino hashed over the past couple of weeks with an exceptionally high average cell density. So I don't know if this is already indicative, but after one round, it's up 1,000 points. Wow, that is seriously impressive. But then again, could just have been a bad round for Electric Company Blues. We don't know that, so let's see how that plays out here. Okay, that's not too bad. It's not too wide a margin, 300 points apart. But it doesn't look like Electric Company Blues can actually hold up. All right, yeah. It's 1,500 now after 2 rounds, 1,500 difference. That's quite a lot. That is quite a lot. That means we are projecting more than 9,000 point score for Dormant Warmind after 4 rounds. That is seriously impressive. And as you can see here from the live rankings, Apotheosis is right up there, 8,472 points. That is seriously impressive. So Bobino has actually fielded some very impressive, some very performant patterns. Good for you. So, all right. For the benefit of our new joiners, this is an auto battler for Conway's Game of Life. It uses the adversarial Conway algorithm that we invented. We cannot influence the outcome. I can freely roam around the 3D scene, but I cannot influence it in any way. How do you play this? Well, you play this by finding these patterns that Electric Company Blue and Dormant Warmind, as you can see here on the screen. It's an optimization problem, so if you're interested in mathematical puzzles or the like, then you came to the right place, I think. I hope you enjoyed this. This is the weekly finale, by the way. So we've been playing weekly series of tournaments, and they're going toe-to-toe with one another now. That's doesn't look too good. Electric Company Blues is second highest ranked glyph against a newcomer, Dormant Warmind, and it's utterly defeated here. Dormant Warmind is already up almost 2,500 points. Wow, that's seriously impressive. 9,000 points. Congratulations, Dormant Warmind. Completely defeated one of the highest ranked glyphs we have at the moment. And Dormant Warmind, as you can see here, down now, is the leader of the ranking. All right, next up, MDT48, Poxy Demo Crew. I think there's a mid-ranked glyphs, neither of which has distinguished itself over the past couple of weeks. So let's see what we can see here. Seems to be hovering around 1,500, 1,600 points spread. New Skybox. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I turned down. New Skybox is really good, thanks. Yeah, I turned down a bit of the brightness. We had a brightness issue in previous tournaments, and sometimes you couldn't even see the Taurus, so you had to move around to a more favorable camera position. And that is now fixed, so as you can see, this is pretty much an ongoing development. We are developing this as we go along, which is why our primary YouTube channel has the devlog where we pitch ideas, what we're going to do, and the secondary channel, the Live Hashes channel, is actually our archive channel where we post these past tournaments that you're seeing here. Yeah, okay, thank you for that, Bobinu. Appreciate that. We'll keep working on this, keep optimizing it as we go along here. And yeah, what can I say? An interesting match. Not too many points, as I said. These are mid-ranked glyphs. Proxy Demo Crew and MDT48, but they managed to earn a respectable 3,000 points. It's actually very close between the two, so we can't really say who's going to advance to the next round here. Interesting. MDT48, this is probably a reference to, I think, the Dark Fields. Yeah, I think it's a reference to the Dark Fields. That's the original title of the novel. It was made into a really mediocre movie called Limitless, which, what's his name? Robert De Niro in a secondary role, but Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper was the protagonist. MDT48, yeah. I think it's called NZT48 in the movie, but the original novel, which I own, absolutely worthwhile reading. That is called MDT48. It's an neotropic, mind-enhancing drug, apparently, and gets you super smart. Really interesting. Yeah, okay, Fleur de Lis decided to name his glyph after that, or her glyph. I don't know. All right, yeah, final round. That was a close one. Proxy Demo Crew won 6,700 points. Yeah, dominating 3 out of 4 rounds. Not bad, not bad. Okay, next up, second to last in the first round in the knockout tournament, Hyakutake 96. I think there was a comet. Yeah, there was a comet in 1996, right? And Fibonacci 740. Fibonacci 740 has 592 generational count, so that's pretty high for weight class 500. Hyakutake 96 is smack in the middle, 555. Again, as I said before, the generational count of these Game of Life patterns does not necessarily predict performance. It's probably more like the average life cell count. This is something that we found out over the recent weeks. So if you want to know, is my pattern going to be competitive that I just mined or found this week? The generation count is probably not going to tell you as much. At the very least in weight class tournaments like this, where all the patterns have to be in a similar weight class, that doesn't tell you anything. But the average life cell over the course of the lifespan of your pattern, that is probably going to tell you something about this. This is a theory that Bobinu was advancing, and he hashed some patterns this week that we're also going to see here in our leaderboard. Dormant Warmind, for example, the leader right now, that was specifically a pattern that was hashed and optimized. It's an optimization problem we're doing here. If you're into that sort of thing, if you're interested in math puzzles, you can do that and feel the pattern. And Dormant Warmind was one of these patterns that was found to have an exceptionally high average cell density and is utterly dominating. So that gives credence to the hypothesis so far. So congratulations to Bobinu. But then again, also last week's champion, Apotheosis, is also there, is also by Bobinu. Sorry for that. Only one of them can win. you might have just inadvertently destroyed your chances of Apotheosis winning a second gold medal. I don't know. Really interesting. So how does that play out? Third of 4 rounds now. It's pretty clear that Fibonacci is the more dominant of the two patterns. Yeah. Up 700 points now. Pretty good. Yeah, that's true. Bobinu just commented in the chat. If we look at Great Attractor, that's another one of his patterns that has 502 generations. It can hold its own just due to density. Great Attractor is a really, really dense pattern. Suffering from success. Yeah, you have too many successful glyphs right now fielded in this tournament. But then again, the draw for the weekly contestants, that is completely random at the moment, and there is no way for players to switch off or unpublish or unlist their glyphs, so we should probably introduce this. That would introduce another layer of meta strategy into the game. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we should do that. All right, so that was the final round. Sorry, that was the final match of the first round. We're now entering the quarterfinals already. So Apotheosis versus Archimedes 107. Apotheosis, the reigning champion, won the gold medal last week. Not really going toe-to-toe against one another. Yeah, Apotheosis is just drawing away now. Unless something really nasty happens now, like containment failure. Yeah, that's it. Okay, first round. Apotheosis up over 600 points. Very impressive. Yeah, it's 25% up. Oh, that is very hard to beat. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit here. All right. Okay, yeah, so we can see the match unfolding. Okay, second of 4 rounds, and Apotheosis is already up 1,000 points, almost. What do the rotating rings shows? Yeah, that's a good point. That shows the current leading edge of the pattern, so you can follow along a bit better. Previous version of this 3D engine, it was hard to follow where are the patterns right now, because they roam around on this torus. And these these rings, they're moving around. They're showing you the leading edge of the pattern that is currently roaming around and charging all the cells and trying to claim it. Yeah, makes it a bit easier, I think. But it's only the leading edge, not the trailing edge. All right. Yeah, third round. 1,300 points up. I think Archimedes 107 doesn't stand a chance. Even if Apotheosis suffered a containment failure right now, be very hard for Archimedes to catch up. So yeah, so it's the reason why Apotheosis won last week's tournament, won the gold medal already. Strong contestant for this week too. Oh my! Oh, that's a lot of damage. Look at that erratic score curve. They're really going toe-to-toe against each other. Damn. All right, Apotheosis, 8,300 points. Wow, that's massive. That's a massive point score. It's more than 2,000 points per match round. All right, next up, that is the second quarterfinal. Cherenkov Radiation, 2 times bronze medalist versus Euler 461. Cherenkov Radiation is in the mid-range when it comes to generational count, smack in the middle of weight class 500. Stands a good chance to maybe win a third bronze medal. I don't know. That's actually one of my patterns. I just realized. #0. Yeah, that's me. That's me. That's your host. Also have a vested interest in my own glyphs. Competing here. All right. Oh, this is getting. Oh, this is super tight now. Wow. Look at that. It's like 41 points spread. That's nothing. That could have gone any other way. Wouldn't have made a difference. Again, this neatly illustrates that generational count is not a good proxy to determine whether a pattern is going to be successful or not. Euler 461 clearly has the advantage. It lives longer, 38 generations longer than Cherenkov Radiation, but that doesn't mean that it's going to dominate, as we can see here. And this, again, is very, very close. So Cherenkov Radiation just barely scrapes together an advantage here. Wow, 101 point advantage after two rounds. That is very tight. Surely it has to do much better if it wants to compete against patterns that have more prowess, Apotheosis or Dormant Warmind. Yeah. Next up is going to be the match between, what's that? I think it's Muon Catalyst versus Bobino 1. Bobino 1 is interesting because not only is it a very dense pattern, but Bobino actually hashed the pattern specifically with his name as the starting configuration, and it is a really nice little treat. Some nice little vanity plate he minted for himself. That's also a very successful pattern in its own right, so like that. Right, final match round. Yeah, Cherenko Radiation is back in form now. Oh, what's that? It's like 400 points up. Okay, yeah, that's respectable. Why they really go toe to toe with one another. Okay, and oh, you know that Euler 461 actually managed to win this round, but not the match. Okay, Cherenko Radiation is still the winner of this match. Okay, next up, third quarterfinal. Yeah, there you saw it. Starting configuration of Bobino 1. It's a nice little vanity plate there. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not Muon Catalyst, that's Bobino 1 fighting Dormant Warmine. Both very high density patterns by Bobino. I'm so sorry. You were not very lucky with the weekly draw. They have to fight each other now. Only one can advance. So let's see how that plays out. I'm really looking forward to this. Current score, Dormant Warmine 9,000 points, Bobino 1 7,200. This will be interesting, absolutely, I agree. Alright, yeah, that's a clear advantage, Dormant Warmind, 2,700. Unless that was a statistical fluke, I don't know. So, the path that these glyphs take is randomized and seeded randomized, which means you can reproduce the result if you have the seed, which is displayed here, top left corner. And that's a bit closer this round. Yeah, that's actually a bit closer. That was a difference of less than 300, but still, okay, yeah, Dormant Warmind is up 1,000 points already. 20% advantage after 2 rounds. Oh my, if Dormant Warmind holds this up, it's going to earn 10,000. I've never seen a pattern win 10,000 score in 4 rounds of a match. That would be a new, utterly dominating. Provided it doesn't suffer any containment failure random event. Still quite close, and yeah, Bobino 1 is making a dent in Dormant's score, but yeah, to no avail. Okay, last round. Dormant Warmind now up 1,400. Ah, you missed most of it. Bobino just chatted up. Wi-Fi dropped. Ah, not to worry. It's the last round of the match. Dormant Warmind is up 1,400 points. This Bobino 1 score just dropped massively. Took a massive hit from Dormant Warmind. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Dormant Warmind once again completely and utterly dominating. It's now I think 18,000 points. Yeah, in excess of 18,000 points. Wow. That's a lot. Okay, yeah, that's the final quarterfinal. We're seeing here Epoxy Demo Crew versus Fibonacci 740. Epoxy Demo Crew is at the lower end of the generational count for this weight class, and Fibonacci 740 at the higher end. So let's see if generational count is. It does have a bias, we know this. The higher the generation count, the more likely it is for a pattern to succeed, but it's nowhere near enough bias to be absolutely sure that it's going to win. Okay, Fibonacci 740 just turned the first round. For those of you who have just joined, this is an auto battler that lets you pit individual Game of Life pieces, Conway's Game of Life, fight each other, as you can see here in a 3D application. If you're interested in computational puzzles or optimization problems as a gamification, then you came to the right place. because we are playing weekly series of tournaments to determine which of these patterns is the best. Seeking and finding these patterns is no small feat. You have to employ some clever algorithmic tricks to find a pattern in Conway's Game of Life that lives on a 16x16 torus, which is notoriously fickle, dies out very, very quickly. To find a pattern that lives for at least 500 generations to qualify for this tournament, this is no small feat. I think the lower end of these patterns that live like 500 generations, that is 1 in 600. 1 in 600 of these patterns can do that. And the higher end, so at the end of the weight class, that live for 590, 599 generations, these are already very rare. They're 1 in 2000, and the distribution of Game of Life patterns on the 16x16 torus with non-repeating generations, that is a steep decay curve. What's the... Yeah, Bobino 1 doesn't stand a chance. It's true. I think the longest lived pattern on the 16x16 torus that doesn't repeat that we know of, that must be, I think it's Ouroboros viridis, 2400 generations. Oh no, sorry, that's one of the Agars. Yeah, there's regular patterns that do not repeat. They're in the 2400 range right now. That's the longest lived patterns we know of. And there's also a separate class that was actually discovered. It was a genuine discovery by the Conway live forum community. When we found patterns that live for 5,000 and more generations, they pointed out that these are actually patterns that contain a previously unknown agar pattern. So how would you put that? It's a non-repeating pattern, but it's periodic. Yeah, it's a bit like a Penrose crystal. It's non-repeating, but has a regularity to it. And yeah, those can go up to 5,000 and more generations, but we're not playing with those here. Right, yeah, that was the final quarter-final here. We're now up to the semi-finals. Okay, Apotheosis, current reigning champion of last week's tournament winner, Apotheosis, gold medalist versus Cherenkov Radiation. It's one of my stronger patterns, so this is a bit personal here between Bobino and me. Cherenkov Radiation is one of my older patterns, has held up pretty well. I think 2 times bronze medalist versus the current reigning champion. But I'm also hosting this, so I need to be a bit more neutral here. And I grudgingly have to admit that Apotheosis is the dominant pattern. Yeah, absolutely is. Oh my, look at that. It's already more than 800 points up. Wow. That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. Maybe Cherenkov Radiation can catch up, but I'm not sure. We've seen a lot of good patterns falter along the way. Electric Company Blues already... this is a containment failure. Apotheosis just suffered a containment failure. Bobino is not going to believe this. He thinks I'm probably going to tilt it to my advantage. That's not the case. This is entirely random. Right, next round. Still, didn't make a difference. Didn't make much of a difference. Apotheosis is still up 500 points. Containment failure means that the pattern destabilizes and cannot run its full course. They have a fixed and deterministic number of steps they can run. For example, Apotheosis, that's the gen count, 594 generations. And containment failure means exactly that. It's a random event destabilizing these patterns, and they cannot run for the full course of their life, which is negatively impacting the score they can achieve. So, great. Right, Cherenkov Radiation, still, after 3 rounds, 5,200 points. That's respectable. It is not a weak pattern, I have to say this, but it is surely finding its master here in Apotheosis. Oh, that's going to be tight. That's going to be tight. I have to zoom out. Is there going to be no? All right, yeah. Congratulations, Apotheosis won this semi-final. 9,000 points. And as you can see from the live ranking, Apotheosis is now leading 25,000 points already. Okay, next up, Dormant Warmind versus Fibonacci 740. My money is fair and square on Dormant Warmind. That pattern has been absolutely mind-blowing. Has a very, very high average life cell profile count, and Bobino specifically hashed it to prove the hypothesis. It's the average cell density that determines whether a pattern is successful, not so much its generational count. Oh yeah, that's Fibonacci is not even close to what Dormant Warmind is doing here. Look at that. Wow, it's Dormant Warmind has double the points. Fibonacci 740. That's wow. Absolutely phenomenal pattern. So you're watching the second semi-final of our grand weekly finale, a weekly series of tournaments where we battled Conway's Game of Life patterns against each other according to the adversarial Conway algorithm. It's an auto battler. We cannot influence the outcome of this, but what we do influence is the patterns that we feel. It's an optimization problem, a mathematical game of sorts, where we try to find patterns that have characteristics that makes them suitable for this contest. All right, so third of 4 rounds in this semi-finale. Yeah, Bobinou's smiling now in the chat, as he should. Dormant Warmind is an absolute utter beast, completely dominating. Strong contender for this week's finals final and possibly gold medalist. Oh my, that took a hit right now by Fibonacci 740. Quickly recovered though. Okay. Now it's Fibonacci's turn to suffer. They're really nuking each other. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. All right, yeah. 3 out of 4 rounds done now. Dormant Warmind is utterly dominating. 3,000 points up. Wow, look at that. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So if Fibonacci 740 doesn't turn that around, we are going to see Dormant Warmind fighting Apotheosis. Both of these patterns have been fielded by Bobinou, so congratulations, you have already you know that you've already won the finale, but the pity is Apotheosis is the current reigning champion, the current gold medalist who won last week's tournament, and if Dormant Warmind is now going to defeat Apotheosis in the finale, that means it's depriving Apotheosis of the chance to win the second gold medal now. Either way, that's a catch-22. Yes, absolutely, I agree. Absolutely fun to see them nuking it out. All right, that's the finale, weekly finale, ladies and gentlemen. 4 rounds now between Apotheosis and Dormant Warmind, both owned by Bobinou. Relatively new patterns. Apotheosis won last week, current reigning champion, versus the newcomer, who has been exceptionally strong, utterly dominated the group phase, highest score we've ever seen so far. So this is very close now. Still neck and neck. And they're avoiding fighting it seems. Yeah, okay, now we're seeing a bit of action, but Apotheosis is quickly recovering. Oh my goodness, look at this. The point spread is less than 200. That is exceptionally slim. That margin is very, very slim. This can go either way. It's almost as if they're oh yeah, okay. They're now tearing into each other, going very, very slowly. Oh my, look at that. Look at all that. And Apotheosis quickly made a recovery, and is now tearing into Dormant Warmind, but they're so close. They're deliberate and very slowly roaming around. It's actually randomized, a seeded randomness generator that determines the roam path they take, but it looked like they were deliberately slowing down and taking very, very slowly, because both patterns know they're very strong. And this is the finale, so whoever wins this is the gold medalist. And much more to gain for Apotheosis. That would be the second gold medal. It would actually draw with the Cardinal, which is currently the strongest and highest decorated glyph we have in our tournament. 2 more rounds to play. Dormant Warmind still dominating. Oh my, look at this, how they're tearing into each other. Absolutely, let me change the camera perspective to have a better view. And it looks like, wow, this is Apotheosis now. Oh my, look at that. It's a 4-point spread. This is unbelievable. 6,705 versus 6,709. Apotheosis, the current reigning champion, gold medalist of last week, versus the newcomer Dortmund Warmind, and we're 4 points difference between the two. This is absolutely incredible. This is so close. Both owned by Bobino, so he doesn't care who wins. He will win another gold medal, but it would be Apotheosis' second gold medal. Interesting. Dortmund Warmind now taking it very, very slowly. It's now being overtaken from behind by Apotheosis, and it's close. Oh my goodness, neck and neck. And this looks, oh my goodness, this is so interesting. Apotheosis actually turned it around, and with a respectable margin of almost 500 points, won the finale and the second gold medal. Congratulations to Bobino. Wow, this was tight. There were so many good patterns we saw this week. The random draw. Really, really interesting. A lot of champions of the past who were defeated here. Congratulations to Bobino. It's anyone's game. I agree. I completely agree. So let me jump back to my weekly overview workbench. I'm going to trigger recalculation of the score. Okay, I have to log back in. I'm HASHWAR, your host, and also the admin account. So let me do this. I'm going to re-trigger the score. So this is now updated in your profile, and my current score, my current score has improved by 1 point. In this week's series, I was awarded 1 point bronze medal for Cherenkov Radiation in Series 30. That is the third bronze medal that Cherenkov Radiation won. Cool. And I also got a point for Cherenkov Radiation qualifying for the finale. Yeah, good game. Thank you, Bobino. That was really, really nice. Yeah, 6 medals here. As you can see in my personal portfolio, the Cardinal is the current reigning champion with 3 medals, Cherenkov Radiation, 3 bronze medals. Let me show you the weekly series. This is our Hall of Fame. And as you can see, Apotheosis is now the new number 2. It displaced Electric Company Blues, the only Triple Crown winner we have so far, from the second place. Apotheosis now 2 gold medals up. Wow. That is interesting. The Cardinal wasn't featured. This week's draw didn't favor the Cardinal. It was not part of this week's tournament. But the Cardinal still retains the number 1 spot on our leaderboard for another week. Apotheosis is now the number 2. And yeah, I have a little victory to celebrate. Cherenkov Radiation earned its 3rd bronze medal. Interesting. So I have a little bit to celebrate here. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was this week's finale of our weekly HASHWAR Conway's Game of Life series of tournaments. We hope to see you again next week when we reinstantiate a new draw, see which of the 32 glyphs, let me show you this here. These are currently all registered glyphs, 273 in this computational puzzle / optimization problems board. And in the weight class 500 to 599, there's 152 glyphs qualifying. We are going to draw 32 of these for next week's tournament, and the tournament will then progress. Well, let me quickly show you this. It will look like this, where we have a group phase. After we have the draw of 32 contestants, we'll have a group phase. So 8 of these glyphs will fight each other in round-robin style tournaments, home and away style, for the highest score. The top 3 will advance to the weekly finale. The runt of the litter, the one that is placed last, will exit the tournament entirely, and the 4 indicated in yellow here for each group, they will have to fight on Redemption Day in a knockout style tournament to secure the final spot. And then we do the final draws, which will give us the brackets for the weekly finale, the championship, which we've just seen here. Again, congratulations to Bobino for fielding both the winning and the runner-up pattern Apotheosis and Dortmund Warmind, specifically bred because we wanted to test a hypothesis what makes a really great pattern. That's it for tonight. Very glad that you joined us for this live stream and for the weekly finale, and I hope to see you soon. This is HASHWAR, host of the adversarial Conway series of computational puzzles, essentially. Signing off for tonight. See you around, and bye-bye.